All right, so we created our buttons, we created all the objects. Now we're going to be actually going through the pseudo programming for the reset button, the counter button, and then we're going to be dealing with the numbers and the stopwatch. So what do we do with that? If you had trouble with this in the previous one, I'm going to try to teach you a little bit here so it's not just doing what the book says. So we're going to be programming those buttons because they're there, but they don't do anything right now. In fact, if I go to my thing, just so you can see if it works, let me run my frame. It moves, I can press the buttons, but nothing happens. So I need to program my computer to tell it what to do. It just thinks it's an image. So here, I need to program this code. So if the button is clicked, then the restart the current frame. So everything in computer programming, basically not everything, most things run on if-then statements. They're called conditional statements. If this condition is met, then this result comes into play. So this is basic logic. If you ever take a logic course in college or in a math class, you're going to be dealing with the if-then logic statements. There's a lot more to it, but this is just a piece. So once again, we're dealing with pseudocode. So it's going to walk you through step by step. So if the reset button is clicked, then the restart current frame. Then restart the current frame. So let's go ahead and look for the inner planets frame. We're going to right click on the number 1 for the first line event and click delete. I'm not actually going to delete mine. And the reason is because I like being able to blow up my planets. So I'm going to keep those there. It does say delete all the events, but I'm going to keep them there. So just because I think it's interesting. So it will make it so our application won't run perfectly in the end, but that's okay. Because if you're counting all the rotations and your planet blows up, then it can't count anymore. Anyway, so that's what will happen. So we're going to go to inner planets. We're not going to delete stuff, but we will be adding a new condition. Look for button clicked. What that means is the computer is going to ask, is the button clicked? Because if the button is clicked, then under the storyboard controls, it will restart the current frame. So let me show you what that looks like. So we're going to go to new condition, button clicked, storyboard controls to restart the current frame. So back here, let's go storyboard. And remember, inner planets, we want to make sure we have this up. That's where all of our objects are. This right here is the event editor. It allows you to see what's happening, events, in your game. Event editor, I'm going to keep all those there even though it told me to delete them. I'm going to add a new condition. And this time, remember, we're doing condition for buttons. So here's 2 buttons. Notice that they both say, okay, that's why we named them earlier. So I'm going to put this button reset. This is button time. We're doing reset. So let me right click on this. We're going to go to button clicked. So it says if, this whole part here is the condition, if the button is clicked, then what do we want to do? Restart the frame. So that's going to be under the storyboard editor. So storyboard controls, notice how this spot right here is both storyboard controls and button clicked. So storyboard controls, right click. I want it to restart the application or restart the frame because there's technically only one. So I'll do that, restart the current frame because that's what the direction said. So if the button is clicked, I'm going to restart the current frame. Let's see if it works. So there we go. There's my planets moving. And if I press reset, bloop, there they go. They reset over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So there we go. Buttons clicked, things reset, works great. Now you're going to be doing the exact same thing for, oh, never mind. It's doing the timer first. We'll go back. Actually, we'll jump ahead. It's fine. I would like you to do the exact same thing for the restart timer, but actually I realized we do need to set up the timer first because you can't reset the timer if the timer's not working, right? Things go in order. So apply what you learned, add a new condition, and then we're going to click on the timer object, that's new, and click every. So new condition, timer object, every, and then something's going to be shown. So let's come back here. So new condition, ooh, there's our timer right there. So right click on timer and it says the word every. Notice how there's other options. And you might use these in other games. So every, lots of stuff up here. So let's come back to our game and directions and see what we do. So make sure the values of hours, minutes, and seconds are all 0. And then enter 10 in the 1/100th text box. So let's go to 1/100th and let's type in 10. And I do believe this said 0. Let me double check. It said yes. So make sure all are set to 0. We did that. Enter 10 in the 1/100th text box and then press OK. And what that means is the condition is if every 10 out of 100 seconds, so if you do the math, that's actually, remember you can cross out the zeros, that's 1/10 of a second. So if every 100th of a second is created, so that's just the if statement, then what's going to happen? So right click under the cell under for days counter and click add to counter. So it's basically saying that every 10th of a second, it's going to add a new day, which is pretty cool. Let's see if it actually does it. So we have zeros, we have a 10 here. I'm going to press OK. So if every 10th of a second, then where's the days counter? Days counter. See, days counter. This one is stopwatch. So days counter. Right click. I forgot what I said. Days counter, add to counter. Let's go there. So days counter, add to counter. There it is right there. And let's go see what we do here. So days counter, add to counter, applying what you've learned, enter 1.52 as an expression. That's pretty specific. And then press OK. So 1.52 and then press OK. So that means that if every 1/10 of a second goes by, then it's going to add 1.52 to the counter. Quite interesting. Hover over the cursor over the check mark in event line 2. That's the one we just did. Make sure the programming on event line 2 matches the pseudocode. If every 1/10/100th of a second, then add 1.52 to the days counter object. So that's right here. Add 1.52 to counter, which is the days counter. So we got it. Nice. Display the frame editor. Select the inner planets frame. Runtime options, properties, and change the movement timer properly to 50. So this is currently the event editor, remember. Next, we're going to go to the frame editor. You can get there by clicking here or double clicking on inner planets. Both work. So here we are. And it looks like we need to choose this and then go to runtime options, which is right here. And it says movement timer. I believe it said 50, but I'm going to double check that. Movement timer property to 50. And then check that the reset button functions properly. So let's see what happens. So let me change this to 50 and run it and see if it works. Let's check it out. It's working. I'm going to press reset, and it does. It resets back to 0 every single time. That's exactly what I want to happen. All right, back to where we were. So quick reset, see if one orbit for Mercury is about 85 to 95 days. Let's test and see if that works. So remember, Mercury is the closest to the sun. So let's see if it is. One rotation. So we're waiting till Mercury comes back here. And it's about, it's a little high. One full rotation. It's all right. I think we're close enough. Yeah, it's less than 90. So we'll call that good. All right. There we go. So let's programming the time button. So what we're going to be dealing with is this pseudocode. If the user clicks on the time button, then the set value of the stopwatch equal to day will be equal, If the user clicks on the button for time, then set the value of the stopwatch equal to the value of the number of days. So let's go there. Displaying inner planets, new condition, button clicked, and choose set counter. So events, new condition, button clicked, and this is the time button this time. So if the time button is clicked, then what does it say to do? If the time button is clicked, then in line 3, right click on the cell below the icon for the stopwatch and put set counter. So remember, not line 3 because I left these in here. Right here, looks like the timer, set timer. So cell for the stopwatch object and put set counter. So we did that. Next, it says at the bottom of the expression editor, click on the icon for the days counter object and click current value. So, whoops, am I missing something? Did I do the wrong one? Oh, set counter. I think I did the wrong one. Let me double check that because sometimes I misread them. So in line 3, right click on the cell below for the stopwatch object. Oh, that's the object that we created. And put set counter in the shortcut menu to display the expression editor. Oh no, we had that right. So this is the stopwatch. No, that's a timer. Here's the stopwatch. So right click, set counter. There we go. That's correct. And then at the bottom of the expression editor, click on the icon for days counter. So we're looking for the days counter and click current value. So this one's not days counter. Stopwatch, days counter. We're going to right click and then put current value. Let's come back and see what's next. Current value. The expression value days counter is added in the text box as it said, and then press OK. And then check the event in line 3 matches the pseudocode shown on the previous page, which it does. Okay, so if the button is clicked, then it's going to set the counter back to whatever this one was. It's going to allow you to keep track of your days. Testing and tuning. Next, it says each game should be tested and make sure it's working properly. Otherwise, you find random stuff that don't work, as many of you have in your clickball games. So you're going to run the frame and click stop time button. Make sure the stopwatch counter is working properly. So let's go see. Run application frame. Let me press stop time. Hey, got it. It took whatever the time was. And it stores that value here. I can also reset and it goes back. And I can still blow up my things. Let's see what happens if I blow them up. Oh, there goes Venus. They're all blown up now. Moon's gone. But timer still works because time still goes on, even if the planets weren't. All right, so now we've tested, we've tuned. There's a few things that we're going to be making adjustments to in the next couple screens, and I will do that in the next video. So let me pause this.